MicroStrategy is showing signs of a short squeeze breaking out that is bigger than GameStop in that infamous 2020 run. The difference? There's three major factors that are leading investors into going all in on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. Now let's dive in to this chart here where you can see the massive amounts of trading volume that we're seeing from MicroStrategy this week alone. We're seeing 136 billion. That's right, billion with a B, which is insane, and more. That's right, more than the peak that we saw with GME and with that Amazon has ever seen in its entirety. So this chart is absolutely bananas. But why are we seeing MicroStrategy and the massive amounts of trading volume going on right now? Well, let's line it out here. There's three major factors. The first one, obviously, we're seeing the major run-up of MicroStrategy, up a measly 410% year to date, but MicroStrategy recently entered the NASDAQ 100, which will expose the Bitcoin Link stock to billions in passive investment flows. So not only is MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor now into the NASDAQ 100, it gets traded massively on its own, right? I mean, there's massive amounts of volumes. It's in the QQQ and the SPY are the two most traded indices that are on there on a daily basis. And now MicroStrategy is a part of them. And so the NASDAQ annual reshuffling, which includes MicroStrategy, and a recent check showed that MicroStrategy would be the 40th largest company in the NASDAQ 100. So that'll include the index in which MicroStrategy will earn a spot in the largest world's largest ETFs in the QQQ and the SPY, which have more than 300 billion assets under management. So a lot more investors are getting exposure to Bitcoin through MicroStrategy and this MicroStrategy proxy. Now, even more investment funds, even more, retirement funds, even more pension funds have availability to this ETF, which many have dealt as being too risky of investing in MicroStrategy or other ways, shapes, or forms. But now they have exposure. They have exposure through these ETFs, through these ETF products, and they're going to continue to gain more exposure. And so I look for this to be a continued run up here because of the MicroStrategy flywheel. I've loved to go over this chart. It's one of my favorites because it really highlights the value proposition that MicroStrategy, a consistent company that brings in a lot of revenue in order to pay off its debts. Now, here, let's go over this flywheel step by step with my pal Michael Saylor, where MicroStrategy, their enterprise value increases, their stock price goes up, it issues more shares to accrue cash, excuse me, that's tripping me up there, and then MicroStrategy uses the sale and proceeds to FCF and buy more Bitcoin. Here's another little flywheel that goes into it a little bit more in depth, where MicroStrategy issues debt to buy Bitcoin. That's step one. Step two, Bitcoin price increases. Thus, MicroStrategy's market cap increases. Seems pretty self-explanatory there. Then their market cap increases. Thus, the weight in indices increases. So this is a very important step to right here, where we're seeing MicroStrategy enter the NASDAQ 100. And, we got my buddy, we got greetings from the chat. We got Knox Bill and we got Johnny Midas in here. How's it going, fellas? Let's go over more in depth as to why this MicroStrategy flywheel is extremely important for the indices weighting here. Because once we see this increase, once we see Bitcoin's prices increase, the weight in the indices, including the NASDAQ 100, including the QQQ, which is the largest traded ETF or the most actively traded ETF that there is, and in the S&P 500, many others. Once that the MicroStrategy market cap increases, the weight in those indices increase. Thus, MicroStrategy would become not only just the 40th largest in that top 100, it would continue to move on up. Okay, next step. MicroStrategy will thus issue equity and buy more Bitcoin. So that's what we're currently seeing here, is that MicroStrategy is now buying up more Bitcoin, and thus the Bitcoin price increases, MicroStrategy's market cap increases, and thus the weight in the industries increases again. Thus, step 6, it'll issue more equity, and they will buy more Bitcoin. So it is very, very, very big here to see why, MicroStrategy and the Bitcoin price are essentially almost a levered play. Now, BitBoy Al is talking about, he keeps buying it and he's wondering why it's dropping recently. Are you talking about MicroStrategy or are you talking about Bitcoin? I'm not quite sure there. I know that since Friday, we've seen the run up of MicroStrategy. Here, I've even got the price chart pulled up here. We've seen, just recently, just a dip here. And I think it's because people are selling the news here, where, once MicroStrategy had the possibility of going up or of going onto that NASDAQ 100. Okay, you are talking about MSTR. So once MicroStrategy had the possibility of going onto the NASDAQ 100, I think a lot of people bought up on that at one point in time, and then now are maybe selling off just a little bit. But we've also seen, Bitcoin go up to kind of level that out a little bit here. So, obviously MicroStrategy, pretty volatile to go down almost 10% in a single day. But, I'll look for MicroStrategy to bounce back here to potentially close out the year, just simply because of the flywheel effect that Michael Saylor is going through right here. Okay, now what is the second biggest news that we're seeing here in this past week alone? Well, it's the FASB. I don't know if you guys remember, but the MicroStrategy was always kind of getting a little under wraps about their accounting standards for their disclosure of holding Bitcoin. Well, December 13th, 2023, so about a year ago, they issued an accounting standards update that would disclose addresses the accounting and the disclosure for all cryptos assets. Obviously, that includes Bitcoin, and there wasn't necessarily a way for them to disclose and kind of go about it. So a lot of companies were very tentative on putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet simply for this reason, for the accounting reasons. Obviously, Michael Saylor, the Giga Chad himself, will continue to keep buying Bitcoin and continue to keep putting it on the MicroStrategy balance sheet. Excuse me. But not everybody is as bullish on Bitcoin as Michael Saylor. I know that's absolutely crazy as we've seen Bitcoin price pumping here. So I don't see why, but it makes it easier for now companies to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet as it gives them some guidelines. And this went under and went into accounting here December 15th. So we're recording this on the 18th, this live stream here. So the FASB issues all these final statements. So now there's an effective way to go about this. So it asks, looks at as a intangible asset. The holder does not have enforceable rights or claims to the underlying good or service of the asset. The asset is created or resides in a distributed ledger based on a blockchain or similar technology, secured by cryptography, is fungible, and is not created or issued by a reporting entity or parties. Well, what do all those guidelines show you? Basically, it's Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. They're trying to make sure that you're not putting in any shit coins on your balance sheet. And I don't think that's ever going to happen, or companies are ever going to attempt for that to happen. But this makes it very clear that FASB and the the results of this are to hold Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. It's putting a little bit more regulation for businesses and services in order to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet and go through those fair reporting laws. Now, what's this third factor that I'm talking about here? Well, it's the Giga Chad himself, Michael Saylor, does it again. On Monday, excuse me, he announced that they had acquired 15,000 more Bitcoin for $1.5 billion. Billion, that's right. The more that the price increases, the more that these buys are going to increase. But MicroStrategy has now achieved nearly a 50% yield in their year to date and are up 72% year to date. So now they have nearly half a million Bitcoin. I'm sure that they will get there within the next year if I had to put money on it. And the Giga Chad himself, Michael Saylor, keeps buying. So as BitBoy Owl is saying here, is that Michael Saylor is going to keep buying MicroStrategy. We lined it out, the flywheel effect, right? So they're going to keep issuing more debt. You see potentially an initial run up when it comes to Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, but it's not always super correlated. That could be simply because of MicroStrategy news and not necessarily because of Bitcoin related news or macro related news. It's simply on the MicroStrategy news here. But what is interesting about Michael Saylor keep on buying? Well, it's essentially he's been buying every Monday for the past like 3 or 4 weeks here, and he keeps letting us all know when he's going to do it. He tweets out, is the Saylor tracker missing a green dot here? And he continues to tweet this out. So this Saylor tracker, for those who you don't know, is every single time Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy have bought Bitcoin. So as you can see, they're going to buy all the way on the way up. They're going to ride the downs. They're going to ride the downs all the way down through the bear market and continue to buy on the way up as well. Now, another interesting point about this is that the treasuries on the Bitcoin standards are now up 143% year to date. So this shows the major success that MicroStrategy is having. And what did I point out here earlier, right? I mean, the trading volume on MicroStrategy is absolutely huge. So imagine this. We got the FASB laws, a lot of copycats coming on now for Bitcoin accounting and looking at MicroStrategy. So all eyes are on MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor. We've got Bitcoin, the most free and open market that there possibly is, can trade potentially 24/7, 365. Not potentially, it could. If you'd like to do that, you're crazy, man. But hey, you can do what you want here at Bitcoin and trade it 24/7, 365. And on top of that, Michael Saylor continues to buy, continues to issue equity in order to buy more Bitcoin, obtain more debt, utilize the traditional financial system, and that trading volume keeps on skyrocketing. So, yeah, with all that, it seems extremely bullish. And, it's more and more articles are being written around MicroStrategy and Bitcoin because they just keep buying. The man cannot be stopped. I mean, I don't think the guy has a bearish bone in his entire body when it comes to Bitcoin. He keeps going in, bought 2,100 Bitcoin last week. Now, that was even previous before, they got up to that 4,500 mark. So, with all this, man, there's so many companies starting to look at Bitcoin and starting to copy it, right? So their $42 billion Bitcoin buying spree is spurring copycats. And now we're seeing a potential of 10. That's right, 10 different Michael Saylors and MicroStrategies looking to copycat that. I don't think you understand the significance when it comes to this. There's 10 different companies that are looking to do this. So not only are we getting countries looking at the US, looking at the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and other assets like that, we're seeing 10 potential copycats come in for Michael Saylor. And so now MicroStrategy owns 2% of the total supply. thanks to its unique convertible debt strategy, and it came up with the idea of borrowing money to loans, and now 10 companies are looking to follow in its footsteps. So there are 144 companies now that are known to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet, though all of them do not mimic Michael Saylor's strategy. Now, there's Marathon Digital, there's MetaPlanet, there's a Similar Scientific, Coinbase, Boya, Tesla, and there's a lot of other potentially smaller companies that are holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The difference is Michael Saylor holds the most. He holds 2%, right? So Michael Saylor, when it all comes down to it, he is a billionaire, but he's not the biggest. And MicroStrategy, we just saw there's 39 other companies that are bigger than MicroStrategy in the NASDAQ 100 alone. So 39 other companies could be looking at MicroStrategy, potentially passing them up in this NASDAQ 100 and wanting to keep that spot, wanting to stay put and stay there. But, and as we see Bitcoin do what it does, I mean, it's down a little bit today, but we're still floating at the 100K mark. And, I still think that this price is going to continue to pump. We're seeing a little bit of a dump here. So maybe that's another factor why we're seeing MicroStrategy down 10%. We're seeing a little bit of a red day here, unfortunately. And, I agree with BitBoy AL here, where I think, Amazon is now, the Amazon shareholders are now urging the board to analyze and look at putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And Amazon, massive company, and the trading volume for Amazon is also extremely high. See, if you look at this chart here, it also includes Amazon. So we also had GME reach an all-time high in trading volume during that crazy run-up, but we also see Amazon reach that peak or a little bit higher multiple times here. So the trading volume of Amazon could be, a factor that we see increase dramatically, especially if we see the price run up that we saw with MicroStrategy and GameStop because of the massive amounts of inflows going on. But there's some craziness going around in the world, not only in the stock market, but also in the health insurance industry. It's one of the most fiat industries in the world. And if I were to tell you, I could help you find awesome doctors, negotiate your bills, fund those bills through a peer-to-peer funding platform for less money, and to tell you that you don't need health insurance, well, I've got a solution for you. My friends over at Crowd Health are offering you $99 to use promo code Green Candle for the first 3 months. So you can have an alternative to health insurance. Get out of the fiat system. Go to Crowd Health, join crowdhealth.com, click this sign up button here, and go down and, go set yourself an appointment. They're working around the clock and, working very hard to help find solutions for you and your family in order to, help you find the best doctors and get the care that you need. Now, another big benefit of holding Bitcoin, just personally, whether it's on your balance sheet, your own personal balance sheet, your family's balance sheet, et cetera, is self-custody. Now, I'm always a huge self-custody proponent, and I think that everybody should be looking at self-custody. But if it's something that might scare you a little bit, I've partnered up with my friends at the Bitcoin Way, where you could go to thebitcoinway.com/green candle. You can set up an appointment that got people working literally around the clock, almost 24/7, 365. So no matter what time zone you're in, you can find yourself an appointment and make it worth your while in order to get your Bitcoin off an exchange, potentially secure your computer from any potential cyber attacks. And lastly, if you're looking to get a Plan B passport, they've got a great solution for you. And so, although you can get exposure to MicroStrategy and get some proxy to Bitcoin, I'm telling you, go buy some Bitcoin, get it off an exchange, and look at all the signs we got going on. We got FASB, the fair accounting. We got MicroStrategy buying up so much Bitcoin. Don't sell Michael Saylor your Bitcoin. I mean, he keeps scooping it up at a rapid pace. And lastly, we've got the potential of 10 more companies coming on to this coming on to getting this kind of volume for Bitcoin and everything going forward. So I've got a great interview for you guys as well on this channel with American Hodl that I just dropped earlier today. I can tell you it's one of the most bullish interviews I've ever done. I mean, it got me jacked up, man. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to go running through a brick wall. So go ahead and go check that out. But before you do that, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And thank you guys all for joining. Now, go on over to that American Hodl interview. Smash the like button, comment it. Let me know what you guys think about that one, as I think it is one of the most bullish interviews I've ever done. All right, I'll let you get to it. So long.